Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division with various wind here for the Drummer Links and St. Patrick's Day Tournament in Golf Clash the game. Make sure that you do hit that thumbs up button, also subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. For those of you that do want to get Ultimate Tournament Guide for Pro, Expert and or Master, you go to patreon.com/golfclashtommy. We do have the link to Patreon directly in the description down below. Follow the info box on the right hand side to get the club distance adjustment, elevation adjustment, also what ball and club type I suggest you to play with. Have in mind that those are all suggestions and you don't have to follow it if you don't want to, but there is always a plan behind it. So let's go to hole number 1. In crosswind and in tailwind, I would strongly advise you to play with the rock as a driver because it gives us some power, but most importantly a good accuracy and a good ball guideline to control the outcome of this drive in the best possible way. So we're starting in with adding spins, 4 top spin and 2 bars of left spin. You can see that I'm backing up here a little bit now, this to adapt and give us a possibility to play the equal way with the rock level 7, 8 and then obviously then 9. Max plus 10 P3 ball. Adjustments made, and now we're going to center the ball and make sure to hit perfect. The goal is to get this ball safely up the fairway to have an open way to rough bump the second shot with our Grizzly. There we go. 352. Second shot, we are going to then check if we don't have a reference already from our yardage, which we often do in tournaments and stuff like that. We always check where max club are and then minimum distance club are, and then make an educated guess of the club distance. Ball guideline to go slightly through the hole here when we do have a slight headwind. Have in mind that if we do have a tailwind, we need to leave the ball guideline short or there's risk of us coming in too hot. 5% elevation and whatever club distance you judge it to be. Center the ball and hit perfect, and you have a very good chance to start off hole number 1 with an eagle. And I would say like this, if you do have any thoughts of focusing on competing at the top of your tournament division, hole number 1 is a crucial drop to start with. Hole number 2 is going to be a very tough par 3. Here with this type of wind angle, we do recommend to start in complete minimum distance, pack the Grizzly to find min line much easier. So you can see here now that I'm starting with my sniper in min distance and having 3.2 backspin and then slightly more than 1 bar of left spin. Adjustment is going to be minimum distance with a 20% elevation, P3 numbers. Hole number 2 here, regardless what way you're playing this hole, is going to be a very difficult one to drop consistently, and the reason for that is the sloped fairway that we have our first bounce on, and then obviously the green that has more or less the whole left side of the pin to fall pretty hard left, so it is a little bit dangerously to come too far left there, but if you do everything correct, you definitely have a chance for a nice little hole-in-one. For hole number 3, this hole is going to be fun if we do have a tailwind of tee, because then we can actually get the ball over the rough at the top there. I would, however, recommend to play with a power 5 ball if this possibility offers us with the wind direction. And the reason for that is that if playing with a P3 ball, we're kind of pushing it to the very stretch if we're going to be lucky enough to get the ball over. I mean, you can see here in the video, it works. We roll into the, we bounce into the rough and roll out, and we have a chance from distance. But again, playing with a power 5 ball will give us a little bit more room. If you do have a headwind or if you do have a crosswind, we need to lay up on the fairway before. But we're gonna play the same shot on the second shot here. The difference is that now we're gonna be close to min and mid distance if we do get over the rough. If we cannot get over the rough, we're going to play with our wood club from more max distance with the same type of idea here. Bounce up towards the pin, make sure to leave the ball guideline short because we do have a tailwind and we will be having an extended ball guideline. So 1.5 right spin, a little bit of top spin. The spins will vary depending on what wind angle you have here and such, but The idea in itself is to bounce on the fairway pad, up on the fairway with a second bounce, and then roll towards the pin for decent chance, in my opinion, to get ourselves an albatross here on hole number 3. But again, headwind, crosswind complicates it even more, and obviously we're further away, it's gonna be much harder to get an albatross from there. But regardless what wind direction you have, I do believe that this type of play will open up for an albatross no matter what. For hole number 4, I will show you 2 options. One where we do play aggressive for a good chance for an hole-in-one, and one where we do play with a conservative way with a less chance for an hole-in-one. So we're gonna play on this very small strip of rough here with the inner ring by the rough line ball guideline to go through the hole and go over the right side of the hole as well. So we're favoring to go over the right side. Adjustment here now is gonna be maximum distance with a 30% over adjustment, and it's strongly advised to play with a wind fireball to reduce the wind as much as possible, and giving ourselves a way of not pulling into max line, which could happen if you do play with a wind 3 ball, for an example. Center the ball, and here a perfect ball is going to be very important, because great ball here could most definitely either miss the rough or go directly into the bunker. But if everything done correctly, I would say that the hole-in-one rate will be much higher here than any other bounce over shot on hole number 4. But let's take a look at the more conservative option here. For the more conservative option, we're going to play from absolute minimum line of a P5 ball. So, sorry, P3 ball, obviously, not P5. And we are playing here with a wind that should be between 7 and 8 miles per hour. And that's why I'm changing from a Kingmaker to reduce the wind to be below the 8 mile per hour mark. You can see here that I'm using 1.2 backspin and 0.2 right spin here. And what I'm looking for here is only the red range position to be in complete minimum line from P3 ball. Pack the grizzly to find the minimum distance line much easier. Minimum distance with a 20% over adjustment. Center the ball, hit perfect. The problem we do have here though is that we are not using side spin enough to have the ball to be pushed more right. You can see that the speed is perfect. However though, we are missing this one pretty big on the left side in my opinion. Need to use a little bit more right spin, don't be afraid of that. But again, the conservative option bouncing over here will be less achievable when it comes to the hole-in-one compared to the rough bump. Hole number 5, a very good chance for a drop in my opinion. We're gonna start with 3.8 topspin, 3 right spin, and play with a katana here to avoid having to go with a lot of curl. We're still gonna do some curl, but not the maximum amount. Adjustment is going to be maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment. Adjustment is made, and then we will apply some curl and push the ball to the right. Half a ball of curl to the right is what we're looking for, and the goal here is to push ourselves all the way up so we do have short-term range for the second shot. Nice little rollout here, and by experience I can say that this rollout is very consistent. 316 yards, that leaves us with a short iron towards the pin. So we look where maximum line are, and then we do make a decision of what type of club distance we are going to use. So here we're going to be somewhere around 80% of our club, something like that. 1 right spin, and I'm using 4 top spin. Ball guideline to go just through the hole here to make sure that we're not falling short. No elevation, and then obviously true club distance. In this case, we're trying to play around 80% slider. I don't know the exact number for this particular shot, but it's going to be around 80%. Adjustment to pull over bullseye, center the ball, and hit perfect. Perfect ball it is, and we bounce on in the rough, roll up towards the pin, dead center for a nice eagle on hole number 5. To have said about hole number 5, unfortunately I don't have a video for it, but you can cross over the water if you do have enough topspin on your club, and also tailwind. But if you don't have tailwind, that's not going to be a possibility regardless what club and ball you're using. On hole number 6, I would show you two types of play. One where we do play aggressive if the wind allows us to do so, and one where we do play conservative. So this is going to be the way where we do play aggressive, and I'm going to use a big boy club here using as much topspin possible. I know I'm not using all the topspin, but this is to be possible to play the same way with for example level 6, 7 and 8. But if you have more topspin than what I'm showing on the video, use it all. Max plus 10 with adjustment, and then we're going to push up. You can see here now that we're pushing up to absolute max. Using a power 3 ball here to more ensure that we're getting the wind resistance with this. You can play with a P4 and P5 ball if you would like that too. Perfect ball will bounce on the fairway, and in this case we're looking for this ball to roll as far down the fairway possible. And we do want to have this little glitch rollout instead of the dead bounces that we got. But you can see here now that we have loads of room, and the further down we are getting, the more open shot we do have here now on the second shot with our Grizzly. Using all the left spin to remove our target from the rough line, using a little bit of backspin in this case to control the rollout and the bounce, leaving it one green square short because we do have tailwind, and having tailwind means that we do have an extended ball guideline, and to be able then to counteract that and not coming too hot, we leave the ball guideline short. 10% elevation, true club distance. Even though it looks like we're playing it uphill, we are definitely going to be needed to play with a downhill elevation, because this shot is a little bit weird when coming onto the green. Perfect ball. Unfortunately, we will, in this case, miss on the right side. Needed a little bit more adjustment here, but at least there is a chance, even though it's going to be a tough one. But let's take a look at the more conservative option, which will be applied if we do have a straight crosswind or a headwind. For the conservative option, we're going to play on the left side. Now the goal is to have this ball to stay as close to the rough line on the second shot. However, though, we still, let's rephrase it then and say that we want the ball to be high up on the fairway, but as far back as possible from the rough without putting ourselves into any danger by rolling into the rough, and then also being able to reach on the second shot. Yeah, we got there in the end, right? Max plus 10. And using a 4.5 bar topspin here, and the reason for that is that I do not want to use more overpower than what is being what's being shown here on the video. If you have more topspin, you can back up a little bit more and use that topspin and then roll the ball up there. This is perfect. Obviously, this is a little bit scary. We could back up a little bit and still have room. Second shot here now, we're gonna play this one with maximum distance with a 40% over adjustment. So using all the topspin that I can on my Cat 4, leaving the second bounce to be just by the edge of the rough line. With the third bounce not really caring about this, more important when it comes to the second bounce. Adjustment, max plus 40. Once that is done, we're gonna center the ball and hit perfect. You can see here that I do suggest a Kingmaker instead of the Titan ball that I'm playing with in video. And the reason for that is that I want to have as much wind resistance possible for the second shot to prevent us from having to use a lot of overpower if we're not getting the drive as we want. We will here have two bounces on the fairway, third bounce into the rough to slow the ball down and sit there nicely for an eagle. So, two ways of playing hole number 6. For hole number 7, I would say this par 3 is definitely the easier one of them three. And here we can decide to go for a rough bump if we would like, or we can bounce on the fairway before the rough and the sand if we would like that instead. So here I'm setting up my target with the blue ring as a reference by the rough line with the ball guideline going through the hole. After that I'm applying spins, 2 backspin and a little bit of a right spin with this wind angle. Adjustment here now is going to be pull over the bullseye. Obviously we are adjusting a max plus 10 with this specific wind angle, but it's going to be all from medium distance to maximum distance depending on once again what wind angle you're going to have. Hit perfect and you're gonna see yourself having a good chance for an hole-in-one. Playing with a navigator as well, not really needed more than that, especially here playing in Pro Division, having the wind around 6 to 8 miles per hour. Good chance on hole number 7. Hole number 8, it could be a tough par 4, especially in headwind, because now we're going to have to lay up on one of the two tricky fairways here, and when we do have more headwind than crosswind, I always choose the right side fairway, because left side fairway will have us to play with a lot of overpower, and it is a skinny one, and that's not really the best possible way to approach, in my opinion. Start at the plus 1 yard mark. I'm using all the side spin, I'm using the top spin too. If I would be having more top spin, I would be using more than that. Max plus 10. And here, playing with a Kingmaker would definitely be sufficient if you do have some. Because here we're pulling into overpower and therefore we have to use overpower. So if playing with a power 3 ball, we would not need any overpower as we wouldn't pull into it. Ball falls down nicely on the fairway. Now we're going to focus and position ourselves for a rough bump with our Grizzly, because the headwind here does not allow us to play with a short iron, which is the preferred way of attacking from this direction, in my opinion. So we're going to use our Grizzly from absolute min line, and we're going to apply top spin and side spin to get the ball guideline to be through the hole, approximately 1 green square. Minimum distance with a 15% over adjustment is what we're going to use here. Taking my time to really be spot on with my ball guideline position, because even though this is a rough bump, this is a very elevated rough bump, and it's also a rough bump that if you aren't spot on with the technicalities, it's very easy to miss either left or right. Perfect ball. We are looking to see the rough bump here like that and bounce on to the fringe there and rolls just left side, but we're getting a drop. Hole number 8 is an interesting hole, tough in headwinds, but if we would be getting a tailwind, we can actually drive to green. Unfortunately, I don't have a video for that, but just have to be said at least. So hole 8, let's hope for some tailwind so we can have some fun. Hole number 9, and here we're playing for an eagle and an eagle only. It is very wind dependent if you're going to have any chance of clearing the water and the rocks, but it is a possibility, and I will talk about that at the end of this video here for hole number 9. So we start with the drive, max no elevation, starting at max line, using whatever backspin and right spin that is needed to get the ball to be as close to the top right corner on the fairway. The closer we are to the top right corner, the better it's going to be for the second shot, as we will then have less distance towards the pin, because we're not playing a linear hole. So now, second shot, we can play this one in 2 ways. If we do have power enough and also the wind enough to get over the rough with our first bounce directly, then we're gonna do that. But if we are kind of like in between like this, or in just not in range, then use whatever wood club that do have the most topspin and bounce before the rough line and roll the ball towards the green. Max no elevation for the second shot, and I'm using the horizon here, as the horizon is the club that gives me the most topspin possible. We do want to have this glitch roll here that rolls the ball onto the green, and then as the green slopes downhill, it will not stop, it will roll down, and you will have a short and sweet putt. If you have the possibility, once again, to go over the rough with your first bounce, use less topspin obviously, because otherwise you will fly way over the green, and that could be an easier way to control the eagle outcome with a very, very small chance for an albatross. So let's say that we do have a tailwind of T. I mean, a good tailwind that is around, 6-7 miles per hour plus. Then we can use a club that has at least 6 bars of topspin to bounce on the fairway where we landed with our final roll on the display, the drive here in the video, bounce over into those rocks and do like this little pinball game, and just bouncing back and forth and up onto the fairway. The second shot will not be easy, but at least you will have a nice and easy time to get the ball to green. But again, it's wind dependent if that's going to be a possibility, so we'll see what wind we do get when the tournament starts. Thank you so much everybody for watching this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division with various wins here for the St. Patrick's Day tournament and the drummer links in Golf Clash in the game. Get the ultimate tournament guides for Pro and Expert, or to go to Master by going to patreon.com/golfclashtommy. Link you have directly in the description down below. Thank you once again for watching and good luck in the St. Patrick's Day tournament.